Hi, I'm Gareth.
Hi, I'm Jackie. We are Vegan FTA. Welcome to our brand new series, Activist.
So, in this brand new series, we're going to be talking about activism across the board. All the different ways and means in which we can create a better world for not just us, but especially the animals.
We've got a fantastic range of speakers to bring you over the coming weeks. We're going to be introducing some new faces, as well as some very recognisable ones which you probably already follow and admire. It's going to be great to bring these interviews to you.
So, today's episode, we have the amazing Bobby Sud. He's an event organizer at the LA Animal Save, as well as a brilliant cinematographer.
Today's theme is all about bearing witness. What does that mean exactly to an activist when you bear witness? What happens at a slaughterhouse vigil? These and many other questions are all answered in this brilliant discussion with Bobby.
We hope you enjoy it. All right, so we're here with Bobby today. Bobby, can you tell us a little bit about yourself for our viewers and what got you to become vegan?
I'm an organizer for Los Angeles Animal Save and a vigil photographer and cinematographer with Sean Monson, who directed Earthlings. I've been vegan for almost 5 years. And my brother, Adam, who's known as Plant-Based Addict, he got me to be plant-based, and then I became a vegan, or I guess I should say I became an activist the first time I went to a pig vigil with LA Animal Save.
Oh, wow. So, how did you first off end up getting involved with like the LA Pig Save and stuff like that? Was it just a gradual thing as you were becoming vegan, or did you see the event come up and just jump straight into it?
A good friend of, well, now a good friend of both of ours, but a good friend of my brother Adam's, his name is John Pierre. He's a vegan nutritionist. He's been doing it for like 30 years. I met him and we were talking, and I was telling him that that I had a degree in filmmaking from college, and I had just come back from Nepal, and I was shooting a documentary there. And he asked me if I knew who Sean Monson was, and I said, well, of course. I mean, I've seen Earthlings. Most vegans have seen Earthlings. And he said that his partner had just started LA Animal Save, and that they were going to have this vigil tonight, and if I wanted to go with him, and he would introduce me to Sean. And I was like, well, of course, definitely. I went to, it wasn't the very first pig vigil, but it was one of the first pig vigils. He introduced me to Sean and Amy, and Amy Jean Davis is the founder of LA Animal Save. And, I told him, well, JP told him that I was a filmmaker. And so Sean asked me, would you like to just film this vigil? And then, and you can give me the footage. And I was like, sure. So I did that. And then shortly after, he asked if I wanted to be his cinematographer on this next project. And Amy asked if I wanted to be a photographer for LA Animal Save. And that was kind of how it all got started.
Oh, wow, what amazing opportunity that
Yeah,
is.
yeah, straight
Yeah.
into some serious stuff there. So, I mean, I've seen some of your photography, and the images are just, they stay in my mind from the moment that I've seen them. From your vigils, and the focus of Animal Save is all about bearing witness. Can you
Yeah.
explain a bit for our viewers? What does that mean exactly, and what does bearing witness mean to you as well?
Well, so Bearing Witness is based off of a Leo Tolstoy quote that says, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't know it by heart, but essentially it says, when you see someone who's in pain or you see someone that's suffering, do not give in to that initial urge to flee. Instead, go closer, get as close as you can to the one who's suffering, and do what you can to help. And that's the essence of Bearing Witness. It's that we want to spread awareness, and we want to bear witness to the pigs on the truck to what the reality of animal agriculture is. And this is the end stage of that process. They're arriving at the slaughterhouse. And so we offer them water and kindness. We get 2 minutes with each truck, thanks to the Vernon Police Department. We developed a relationship with them. We've gotten 3 police officers to go vegan.
Awesome.
But we have a special relationship. They make sure that each truck stops for 2 minutes. Otherwise, we would have to, stand in front of the trucks and hope they didn't try and knock us over or something. So it's really a special relationship that we have for the LA Animal Save vigils. And, we get a lot of criticism. Well, 2 minutes isn't a lot of time, and, you're not saving any lives. And, do you really think you're going to end animal agriculture standing on the sidewalk crying in front of pigs? And I look at them and I say, no, I don't think I'm going to end animal agriculture that way. In fact, that's not my intention at all there. When I'm there, the way that I can be, the way my connection to that event is the animals on the truck in front of me. The minute it becomes about anything greater than that, I lose my connection to what I'm doing, and I lose my effectiveness of what I'm doing. And it's true, the 2 minutes to us, you know, human beings, we get about 80 years if we're lucky, which in the grand scheme of things is just a blink of an eye also. These pigs only get 6 months because they're slaughtered at 6 months old. But let's remember that these are living beings who have never experienced kindness before. And now they get 2 minutes. So let's just try and realize how big those 2 minutes are to them. You know, we can't take everything from our perspective. So to us, 2 minutes is it's not a significant amount of time. It's very insignificant, but not for them.
Yeah.
And if the result of doing this is the end of animal agriculture or does shut down a slaughterhouse, that's fantastic. Of course, that's what we want, but that's not why I'm there. I'm there for the 2 minutes I can give to the pigs on the truck in front of me. That's what I find. So when people think that these vigils may not be worth it, they're missing the point entirely. There's a struggle with the futility involved in knowing that I'm not going to save an animal tonight. I'm going to see animals that are suffering, and there's really nothing I can do to end their suffering. So there is that struggle involved with it, for sure.
Definitely. But at least thanks to you guys, you know, even if it's just 2 minutes, like you say, they have known kindness in their life.
Absolutely.
You know? And I can see that it's just so incredibly important. So yeah, thank you. And thank you for explaining the bearing witness term. That makes so much sense.
Yeah, we stole it from Tolstoy, but I mean, if you're going to steal from somebody, you know.
Yeah, better.
So what's it like, you know, when you've got the vigil coming up on the weekend, you know, is there that sort of trepidation beforehand, you know, like do you feel the storm sort of brewing beforehand?
You know, it's weird because the first time you go, you're going to feel, you know, you're going to have these odd feelings, but they're not based on anything in reality. They're based on your imagination. And our imagination is always worse than reality, no matter how bad reality actually is. But I was talking the last time my brother was in LA, and I took him to a vigil, and we got there an hour early, and we saw the first truck. And I told him, I said, it's always that first truck, you know, because it's just a normal day until you see that first truck coming around the corner. And that first truck brings with it, like, the awful weight of its reality, you know. And if you're there for the first time, it brings with it a conflict in you that says, I'm either going to deny what I see, or I'm going to try and stand up against what I see. And that is so important because there's the undeniability of it. And when people decide to say, no, I'm going to stand my ground and I'm going to lean into the awful weight of this reality, that's what makes a vegan into an activist. And for me, I think that's the most important part of the vigil. Vegans are great. Like, we should celebrate every time somebody becomes a vegan. And I'm not, you know, as strange as it may sound coming from a vegan, I don't want to tell people how to live their lives. But I think we have this idea that veganism is the high ground, you know, and it's the baseline, because we as human beings are supposed to be vegans. So veganism gets us back to zero, and activism is how we can heal the world. So I think if there is a moral high ground, we find it in activism. And if you go to a vigil, it's hard to go and say, okay, I did it, and I'll see you later. You know, I'm just going to go back. It usually turns vegans into activists, or non-vegans into vegans. So.
In doing the research for this series, we've got many people like Jerry Carbstrong coming in, and a lot of them all put forward, you know, that everyone should be attending a vigil. That's why hopefully later on this year we'll be attending our first one too, because a lot of people describe, you know, it really lights the fire in them and really propels them forward. And I assume with you, well, exactly that's what's happened.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the first time I was there, it was when the rest of my life became very clear to me what I was going to be doing, what I was going to be dedicating my life to. So yeah, you know, I had started producing a vegan travel show. I was just going to be all about food and fun and, you know, things like that. And then I went to this vigil and everything changed for me. So.
Because that's the Road Less Eaten, is it?
Road Less Eaten, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen your trailer for it, and yeah, I must say, I hope it's still going ahead, because I'm quite excited for it. We tried, we started a series for Vegan FTA called Eat the Change, which was hopefully going to be sort of a similar vein in New Zealand, but so, you know, you're like nailing it. I'm like, right, I'll leave it to the professional.
Oh, we're trying. I produced that 2 years ago, and at that time, you know, there wasn't like, you know, like at Carl's Jr. and Taco Bell, they didn't have Impossible or Beyond Burgers then. And so when we would talk to like NBC or other networks, they all loved the show and the concept, but there was no advertising to attach to it. So it's a little different now. So we're trying again.
Yeah. Oh, I look forward to it. But yeah, so.
Yeah, I mean, you're in LA. There's the vegan capital of the US, and obviously, you know, your vigils will be quite different here in New Zealand. You know, we certainly have our groups, our vigils. You know, there are plenty that are carried out, but some of them are. There's one lady that we're going to be interviewing soon down the track, and you know, she turns up. I believe she's 72 years old, and she bears witness every single weekend on her own. A lot of the time, sometimes she has company, but so. What does going to a vigil entail? You know, you sort of explained about how, you know, waiting for the first truck for your first time is the hardest thing. So if people say, right, I want to go to a vigil, what's going to be expected of me? What do I have to do? What happens?
Well, essentially, I mean, nothing is really expected of you. What you're going to do is, so if you go to an LA Animal Safe vigil, you know, a truck will come up, the police will stop the truck, and you'll have 2 minutes. You do not have to approach the truck. Some people find it too difficult. And we say, if you don't want to, we're not here to force you to do anything you're uncomfortable with. If you want to just stay back and maybe refill water bottles and just be supportive, that's perfectly fine too. But I do encourage people to go up to the truck, even if they just want to approach it, not give water, just go up and see, because, you know, the undeniability of it that I spoke of before. Denial is easy when all we have to do is turn off the screen, and we're separated by the event by distance and time. And we can tell ourselves, because we weren't there, oh, it was, you know, they were sensationalizing it, or they were, you know, selecting, you know, they made it look this way. But when you're there in person and you can, you know, all of your senses are engaged, you know, you can smell it, you can taste the air, you can feel the heat from their bodies, you can hear them screaming, and it's much harder to deny when you're there. And so you'll go from a place of knowing of it to knowing it, and that's a very powerful difference. You know, like I was saying, you know, my family's Jewish, so I could watch, and I've probably seen every Holocaust film that ever came out, you know, and I don't know what the Holocaust is like. It's like saying I know what it's like to be blind because I closed my eyes. You know, you don't know what it's like to be blind. You know, you have to go and experience it. So, and I think it's important for vegans to see in person what they stand for.
Definitely. I know, I mean, until we went vegan, I knew nothing about slaughterhouse vigils. I didn't even realize that you could go to a slaughterhouse, because it's one of those things that it's behind closed doors. It's one of those things that we don't know, you know, where they exist. We try not to think about them. You know, that's not nice. Who wants to do that? And most people don't even realize that, you know, there is probably at least one slaughterhouse in every locality, you know, that's just down the road from them, that everybody could actually be doing this in their area. And it's great that you have so much support from the police. And, you know, it sounds like you have I think a lot of vigil and you know, organizers even over here as well could learn a lot from what LA Animal Safe is doing. So.
Well, so I don't know what the laws are in New Zealand, but we have ag-gag laws here, agricultural gag laws, which make it illegal for us to know what's going on in slaughterhouses. It's the only industry in the country where public oversight is not allowed. And most people are just okay with that, because these are not answers to questions that they really want. And it's unfortunate.
Oh, wow. That's, we had no idea about that in the States. Like, so how does that affect for you, you know, doing the photography and stuff like that? Are there any sort of legalities that you have to sort of skirt around when it comes to taking the photos there?
Not at a vigil, because they're still in public property. They're on the street. They're not actually in the slaughterhouse or on the slaughterhouse property. But like when I work with Sean, there's certain, like a lot of the times we have to do things where we can't be seen, or, you know, when we have legal things set up in case we get sued for eco-terrorism. And it's interesting, we were filming chickens once, and we had set up cameras to, you know, capture chickens being picked up by the company that owns the chickens. And I asked him, I said, say doing all these horrible illegal things to these chickens, like what, and then they caught us spying on them, what would happen? He said, oh, we'd still be charged. We'd still go to jail.
Wow.
And it's just nuts. And it's really because there's so much money involved. I mean, when you think about, like, we have subsidies, the meat and dairy industry get about $60 billion in subsidies every year, which is why you can go to McDonald's and get a burger for $1. That burger would never cost $1 without that money.
Mm. Well, yeah, here in New Zealand, it's farming capital, you know, it is a farming nation. And in the States, you got, you know, the big money houses like Rockefellers and all that sort of thing. Out here, we have beef and lamb and or the Fonterra of the milk industry. And yeah, so we can really understand that sort of aspect. And
I've been to New Zealand. A friend of mine is from Taupo, and I stayed with him there. And I remember saying, I've never seen so many sheep in my life. Like, I mean, everywhere. It was insane.
The sad thing is now, though, you know, it's mainly the dairy now, and so now it's cows everywhere, and you have to go all the way down south to see all the sheep now. And
yeah, you really do. You know, it's changed a lot. So.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
The dairy, you know. I think the dairy industry is going to be the first to change.
Yeah, we really hope so. And yeah, some great work's been done at the moment, you know, to really highlight that. Yeah, it's got to come down.
Definitely. And then that's, you know, we've got some fantastic New Zealand activists that we'll be speaking to through the series as well, you know, and where we're trying to change that. You know, we're not the home of animal agriculture. We're, you know, there's some of us that are doing everything that we can possibly to change that. So I know another thing that people think of, and in myself as well, having yet to do these things, is, you know, you said you have a great relationship with the police department where you are. What kind of reception do you get at these vigils? You know, things like we hear of things over here about, you know, truck drivers being a problem with our activists and that kind of thing. Yeah,
we get that sometimes. A lot of the time, you know, some of these truck drivers have been doing this for as long as we've been there, and they've gotten used to the routine, and, you know, they understand that they're only going to have to stop for 2 minutes. It's not really asking that much. But when we get new drivers, we get hand gestures, or they start yelling out, you know, that a lot of the time they yell at us to get a job, and we're like, it's midnight. Like we were all working, you know, but at LA Animal Save, and I'm pretty sure that this is a Save movement sort of rule, is no matter what anyone says to us, if they give us the finger, if they're yelling and screaming at us, calling us names, we just respond with a peace sign. That's all we do, because we're a love-based movement, and we have no hate for truck drivers. We have no hate for slaughterhouse workers. We understand that this industry does not exist because there are truck drivers and slaughterhouse workers. This industry exists because people want to eat meat. It's that simple. If people didn't want it, if there was no demand for it, there would be no industry to sell it. And so we have no hate for them. And a lot of the time, you know, the slaughterhouse workers, we're actually having a vigil for slaughterhouse workers very soon, because they're all suffering from COVID with the outbreak. And it's really about 50% of the employees at Farmer John have now gotten COVID. And a lot of them they're really taken advantage of, especially in border states where we have a lot of undocumented workers working in slaughterhouses. And they'll hire them for 6 months and then fire them, so they never have to give them health insurance. And the highest rate of domestic abuse occurs in slaughterhouse workers. The highest rate of amputations occurs in slaughterhouse workers. It's very terrible working conditions. They get paid. Nobody grows up wanting to work in a slaughterhouse. These are people that are either ex-convicts or undocumented immigrants, or just, you know, people that are just victims of the system, and they're being taken advantage of. And so when people say that vegans need to care about humans, well, animal liberation is human liberation. You know, they don't want this job. It's all they can get. But if this industry goes down, it's replaced by something else, you know? And so that's another point I want people to know, is that, you know, these employees there are not, you know, they're not happy there. They're being very taken advantage of.
Oh yeah, it's not the kind of place I would imagine you would look forward to going to work every day.
No.
And that's great. That's, you know, you bring up such a valuable point. And a friend of ours that did a vigil recently, you know, one of the guys that she was talking to was a slaughterhouse worker, and he came over and asked what she was doing, and she explained, and he just said, well, I've got a family to feed. What else am I supposed to do? This is the only work I can get. What am I supposed to do? So yeah, it's a great point to bear in mind. And
yeah, it's about changing the system, not necessarily the personnel. And it goes hand in hand. Liberation for humans goes hand in hand with liberation for the animals, and it's all working towards the same point.
Yeah. And that's an argument we hear a lot, you know, especially like, well, what are the farmers supposed to do if, you know, you end animal agriculture? Well, that's a very insulting statement. You're saying that farmers can only raise animals and are incapable of doing anything else. And that, you know, we have to keep slaughterhouses open because they need jobs. Well, we have a lot of soldiers that need jobs. Should we start a war? No. You know, there are other jobs. This industry will go away and will be replaced with another one. You know, and it will be, you know, Beyond Meat and alternative, you know, plant-based meats, and they can work in those factories. You know.
Yeah. People are so scared of change, but you know, there's great changes are happening. So, and thinking about my friend, you know, some of the conversations that we hear they've had, what have been some sort of standout moments for you at your vigils? You know, are there any kind of standout sort of conversations, or just real standout moments for you?
Well, we've had, you know, we've had like ex-employees come and stand with us and bear witness with us, which has been really interesting. Certainly, like when Joaquin Phoenix won Best Actor for the SAG Awards, and then immediately came to the vigil still in his tuxedo. That was a very cool, you know, thing. And you know, people have said, oh, well, it's hero worshiping, that Joaquin is no better than any other vegan activist, and that's true. Joaquin is no better than, you know, we're all equal, we're all the same. But let's not forget that Joaquin Phoenix is the biggest actor in the world, and therefore has a much, you know, like it or not, has a much louder voice than we do. And we need loud voices in animal rights movement. So it's not really hero worship. It's, you know, I'm very thankful that we have people like him, you know. So.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I wish we had that. We were just saying this morning, we need people like Joaquin, like Billie Eilish, like Lewis Hamilton, like all of those big names that are speaking up. We wish we had somebody like that, you know, over here, because it gets it out there, you know, it makes people realize this is not okay, this is happening, and we're doing something about it. So
and it's these people who have that spotlight. And when he gave his speech, you know, I was just blown away that, you know, he was like straight away directed straight at, you know, helping the animals. And as you say, you know, there's no better than anyone, but he's using his limelight in the correct way, in what I believe is correct. But
that Oscar was the best Oscar speech I've ever heard. I know that I'm, you know, being a vegan, you know, but I still think it's the best Oscar speech I've ever heard.
Absolutely. You know, he's just being there. It doesn't matter who he is. The fact that he's there, you know, he's doing it, and he's doing it for the animals. It's just fantastic. So,
and you know, a lot of people have come to vigils just because Joaquin might be there, and that's fine with me. Whatever gets you there, you know, because if they care about animals and they're there, they're going to come back. You know, I don't care why they came. I don't care if they came to meet Joaquin Phoenix or Moby or any of the other, you know, celebrities that come to the LA Animal Safe Vigil. They're there. That's what's important.
Yeah. So one thing is, so after you've done the vigil for the night, you know, and you're starting to head home, what's it like in the aftermath of such an intense event? Like, how do you get to sleep that night? How do you settle down after it?
Yeah, and that's a concern that a lot of people have, and I've been asked about that, especially in terms of like working with Sean and filming animals being slaughtered on kill floors and things. And ultimately, the answer comes down to I can sleep at night because I was there. I can sleep at night because I care, but caring for me wasn't enough, so I turned caring into action. And so I won't lie and say that there aren't ever sleepless nights, and that, you know, from being in slaughterhouses, there isn't, you know, that I don't have PTSD or whatever you want to call it, you know, but because I did something about it, and I wasn't worried about the results, I was just worried about the action. That's how I'm able to sleep at night. And then I wake up and do it again because I know I have more work to do. So.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, you know, when we first got in touch with you, and you've got a photo that you shared recently of your very first vigil, and I can't get that out of my mind, you know, so it really captures what I perceive to be the reality anyway. It gives an idea of what to expect, and who you're there for and why you do it. So, you know, I saw that image and I was like, right, this is something, you know, more people need to be doing. So, as an event organizer, you've obviously, you know, you're a pretty old hand at this now. You've got things pretty down pat. So, you know, what advice or resources can you sort of recommend for people to either, you know, if they want to attend a vigil or start one up in their area? You know, like I said, you guys have got things so well organized. You've got a great relationship with the authorities and that kind of thing. So, you know, what can other people learn from you, or people that want to start one in their area, or just get along to one? How do they go about doing it?
If you go to the Animal Save Movement website, you can look and see if there is a chapter near you. There's almost 900 chapters worldwide, so there's a good chance that there is one around you, unless, you know, there are some of the smaller countries that we haven't. But if you want to, you can go to our website and you can learn about how you can start one yourself. You can register and become an actual chapter of the Save Movement. But I think most importantly, it is to understand, and I'm not saying that one way works better than the other, but I found in terms of creating relationships that make it able for us to prosper as an animal rights group, is to be a love-based movement. You know, if we go there and we're creating disruption, we're creating problems, and we're yelling at everybody, they're not going to want us to come back. But because we were there and we maintained a level of respect for everybody, for the police and for the workers, and said, we're not here because of you. We're not upset with you. We have no hate for you. You know, we're here for the animals, and that is it. And, you know, if you say that this is illegal and we can't do this, we will find a way to make it work without doing that. You know, and that way they see you coming. They're like, oh no, they don't get upset that this group is coming. Like, oh, we're going to have all these problems tonight. They say, no, they're okay. They stay out of our way. You know, they do their own thing and they have never caused us any problems. I think that's the best way to go about doing it, because spreading awareness is important. But we also, our goal as activists is also to create new vegans. And to do that, they have to hear our message. And to hear our message, we have to be willing to say, I will sit and listen to everything you have to say. And I will hear everything you have to hear objectively. Because if we don't do that, they won't do the same for us. Mm-hmm. And when you do disruptions, it makes it very difficult. And that, again, that's just my opinion. I'm not saying that that's right or wrong, or that, you know, disruptions, you know, we shouldn't be doing them. I'm not saying any of that. I don't like the whole, this is the vegan best way to do it. You know, there's too much of that going on in this community, and we don't need to fight with ourselves anymore. Yeah. I'm just saying, in my experience, this has worked very well for us. So.
Well, thank you so much for that. And this is the whole point of this series, is to try and explore different people's ways of doing it and how they go about it and how they find success with that. And not being one way to be an activist. You know, there's so many spokes to this wheel, and as long as they all come to us creating a better world for the animals and ourselves by chance from it, it's all that good work that's making a better place.
Absolutely. I was just wondering, with as Gareth was talking about the aftermath and how you feel, and you know, how you cope, how you sleep afterwards, you know, for new activists, I was sort of wondering, is there somewhere they can go? What if people aren't coping? Are there ways that they can be supported through this? You know, I would imagine that what you guys go through is hugely personal, intense, and, you know, life-changing, special, whatever you want to call it, experience. You know, do people have that support if they need it? You know,
absolutely, and that's very important. And like, for the first thing I say is find an outlet for it, because you're going to be angry. It's impossible not to get angry, especially after your first few times. So find an outlet for your anger. You know, whether it's going to the gym, or, you know, like I've been boxing ever since I was a kid, so I box. But then I also I love reading poetry. You know, because if it was just boxing, that's just, even though it's a good way of getting my testosterone out, it's still an angry event. You know, so I also read poetry. But then the most important is community. it's finding people, whether it means, finding an animal sanctuary that you can visit sometimes and go to, and you can see and be reminded what you're working for. And just having a community of people around you who understand what you're going through because they suffer with you. That I like. There's nothing more important than that, because as human beings, we are tribal, and we like a community, and we thrive in communities. And when we feel supported by a community, we can do so much more. So I think finding your community is the most important thing. Even if it means like 5 of you guys who go to a sanctuary, just, like once or twice a month, or, once a week. That's so important.
Definitely. You have that heartwarming time to it as well. We need to remember that the world is still a good place. There are beautiful things and beautiful people still happening in the world, for sure.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, to finish on a lighter note as well, is there any projects or anything like that you're currently working on, with, because I understand you're still working on another film with Sean at the moment?
Yeah, we've been working on a project for a few years now, and it's been changed over the years. It started out as one thing. Right now, it's the title is Agitator. It's not going to be the suffering, like, torture fest of Earthlings. So people don't have to worry about that. There is going to be some of that in there. We have filmed that already, but it will not take up most of the film. So we're still maybe a year away to be finished with it, but it's going to be really interesting. I'm really excited about it.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye at it. And good things take time. That's how they get to be the best that they can be. Definitely. So.
Yeah.
Is there anywhere that we can follow more for updates on that, or anywhere you want to plug?
Yeah, I mean, if you follow LA Animal Save on Instagram, or Earthlings Film on Instagram, we haven't officially announced the trailer or anything like that. There has been a trailer, but it's just for fundraising purposes right now. But we hopefully will be announcing something soon. Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
We'll keep an eye out. And for people that haven't visited the website before, I had a look, and there is so much helpful information about vigils, where to start, how to go about it, and just answering a lot of questions that people have. So, it's an excellent website. I can really recommend that. And yeah, really looking forward to hearing more about your projects. It's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. This is really a great project. I'm excited about this.
Well, thank you so much for being part of it and giving us a bit of an insight into vigils and
definitely, really uncovering a lot of that fear and unanswered questions. And there are so many people out there that see these things and be like, oh, I really want to do something, I really should do something, but what if I get too sad? What if someone's nasty to me?
I do hear people say, I would go, but I'm just a very emotional person. We're all very emotional people. Everyone in a vigil is emotional. That's why we're vegans. That's why we're activists. So you're not alone if that's what you're feeling, and you won't be alone when you're there either.
Absolutely. No, it's like you say, it's about that undeniability, and just remembering why you're there. You're there for them, you're there for the animals. And no, it's something, what you're doing is just amazing, and I'm so glad to you and all of you for doing that, and for setting such an example across the world as well. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.